Hello everyone, this is going to be another tutorial on using the commands in the Modify panel up here. These are the commands that we're going to be talking about in this video are stretch and scale, and these are commands that you can use to modify the size of the line work that you've already drawn. So for this example, I'm going to draw a rectangle here by just clicking on the rectangle icon and then click once and then click again. And we don't really have to specify a dimension for this one. And then for snaps, make sure that you have endpoint on at least, and I would turn off nearest for this one. I think that'll make things a little bit easier. And then let's say, for example, we have this rectangle and then another one, and we want this one here to stretch out so it's touching this one. There's two ways that we can do this using the stretch command. One way that I think is the easiest is you can create a guide here, click enter using a polyline, and then click on the rectangle that you want to stretch, and you'll notice that it has these little joints here. These are really nice to use. You can click on them and then adjust, and you can have it be parallel or really any angle at all. And I'm just going to click escape. I think that these are really nice to use to do things quickly, so I'm going to click here and it's going to stretch. And I'll wait until it snaps and then click again. So that's one way to do that. I'm going to click enter and then I'm going to delete this line. Oops. Let's say another thing that we could do is if we wanted this line to stretch back, for example, if you click the stretch command now and you select the object and you click enter and want it to stretch, you'll notice that it'll immediately just move it. And the reason for that is because this is all one object. We need to separate all of these four lines. So what I'm going to do is select it and type explode, enter, and now you'll notice that it's four separate lines. And so if we wanted to stretch it, let's say for this one we're going to stretch it to be longer, so we want to stretch these three lines down. So what we're going to do is click the stretch command and it'll say select objects, and we're just going to select those three lines and then click again and then click enter and specify a base point and then a second point. And you'll notice that this green line shows up. That just means that it's staying parallel and it's not moving back and forth. So that's something to keep in mind, and for that reason I don't use the stretch command that often, just because I don't usually explode my objects like that. I usually just like to use the little joints like this instead. So that's the stretch command. And then for scale, sorry, it's loading a little bit. For scale, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just draw a new rectangle, so click here and then draw it. Scale, something to keep in mind is that when we're working in this model space, this dark blue screen, everything that we're drawing for this class we will draw at a 1-to-1 scale. So if something is 4 feet in real life, then we will draw it as 4 feet in this model space. So you don't have to do any conversions in your head or anything like that while drawing in the model space, and then we'll scale it once we put it into the layout. So just like what we would do in Rhino and exporting to AutoCAD, exporting to Adobe Illustrator is what we're doing here in AutoCAD as well. We're drawing everything to scale, so you don't have to worry quite yet about scaling your drawings right now, or just drawing everything 1-to-1 for this class. So if you want to use the scale, you can either click on the icon or type scale, enter, and it'll say select objects. And once again, you'll notice that you can mouse over it and it'll highlight, or you can click from the right, then click again. And click enter once everything's selected. You can select more than one object or just one, then click enter, and it'll say specify a base point. I always just click on this left corner here, and it's really hard to eyeball, I think. I pretty much never scale something by just freehanded, just because it defaults to being so large. So what it's telling me to do here is specify a scale factor. And if you want it to be 5 times as big, then you'll type 5. If you want it to be twice as big, you'll type 2. And so here, for example, I'm just going to type 2, enter, and now you'll notice it's the rectangle twice as big. And then if you want to scale something so that it's smaller, it's going to be a factor that's less than 1. So if you want the object to get bigger, it's going to be more than 1, and if you want it to get smaller, then less than 1. So let's say we want this to be a quarter of its size right now, then we type 0.25, enter. Oops, forgot to type scale, enter, specify base point, and then I'll type 0.25. And now it's a quarter of that size. So that's how you use the scale command. It's always by a factor is how I do it, but just something to note is that everything we're drawing in the model space is at a 1-to-1 ratio. It's the same size as it would be in real life. So that's helpful to keep in mind for now. I hope that this was helpful in learning how to use stretch and scale. Let me know if I can clarify anything from this video or the previous ones. Thank you for watching.